What's happening? Daniel here. On this video, I'm going to be talking to you about how I had my photograph featured on the cover of National Geographic Traveller Magazine and how I had 6 of my images from around the world featured on the National Geographic website. So the short answer is they found me. Okay, I was in Bali one day. I received an email from National Geographic Traveller, one of the editors there, and they told me that they found my elephant photograph. I showed them a link to my portfolio and they said they'd also like to share some of my images on the National Geographic website. So I'm going to tell you exactly how they found me, but I want to talk about some of the things that I learnt before I received that email. Now, I obviously didn't just take that photograph, put it straight away on the internet, on my website, and then a miracle occurred and National Geographic just happened to find that image using a Google search, okay? Now, a few things. So the first thing is I completely understand that not everyone has the time, the money, or the opportunity to travel to Africa for 3 months taking photographs. But at the same time, by no means was I just given this trip for free. I was working a 9-to-5 job for 3 years on 38 grand a year before I had enough money to make the decision to go to Africa, okay? So this is something that is obviously not completely unattainable. It's just something that I chose to do with my money, and it's a decision I made because I'm passionate about photography and I'm passionate about traveling. Secondly, before you ask, I was not using an expensive digital camera or expensive lenses for this particular image, okay? I was using a Nikon D90 from 2008. So people tend to focus a lot on photography gear these days, like sharpness of lenses and all this kind of real low-level technical stuff. I personally believe that there are far more important things than gear when it comes to creating a beautiful image. Things like light and the time of day, composition, being in the right time at the right place. So this is particularly important in this particular image, and also skill in post-production and developing that raw file. So when it comes to being in the right time at the right place, a lot of people will say, well, that's just luck. And to some degree, that is correct. But at the same time, there were people that morning that I took that photograph who decided not to go to the Ngorongoro crater. They didn't want to get up at 4:30 a.m. and make the drive out for sunrise to the crater. And those people missed out on the opportunity to take photographs like this. So what I'm trying to say is, get up, get out there and start taking photographs. You can't create beautiful imagery sitting on your couch at home. And I'm not saying you have to go to Africa. You just need to get off your couch and go and start taking photographs. I have a massive collection of imagery from my hometown, Melbourne. So when it comes to National Geographic finding this particular image, you will have had experience with uploading your images to Facebook, to your website, to Instagram, to whatever, and you'll see how people find images generally today on the internet. My goal with this particular photograph was to get as much exposure as possible. So I didn't have the goal of trying to sell this print at extremely high prices to very unique, rare buyers, okay? My goal with this particular photograph was to get exposure for myself as a photographer, and I did that in a few ways. So the first thing was I actually entered this photograph into quite a few wildlife photography competitions. One of them in the UK that I can't remember the name of now, I think was Photo Radar Wildlife Photographer of the Year. This photograph was ranked number 13 out of 30,000 images submitted in that particular competition. I also uploaded the image to the National Geographic website so that other people can use a reasonably low version of it as their wallpaper. And because of that, I think mainly because of this National Geographic thing, there were a ton of people using that image. And believe it or not, there were a ton of people who were also crediting me where they used that image. Saying that, there were also a bunch of people who were trying to sell my particular photograph, that particular elephant photograph, on canvases illegally without crediting me at all. Obviously, when I put this photograph up on Nat Geo, I'm not giving people to reproduce it and sell it commercially. I'm just giving people the opportunity to showcase that or use it in their own personal way without making money from it. So on my own personal website, I put this on my blog, on my portfolio website, I put this on my Instagram account, my Facebook account, my personal Facebook account, and I found that because of that, a lot of people were just sharing it. If you have a look on Pinterest for this image, it is literally everywhere. I don't know if you've used Pinterest before, but it's basically like you can put a pin it button on your blog or your photography website, and people can pin it to their boards on Pinterest, and then within Pinterest, other people can repin it on their own boards. And this particular image will link back to your website. So this image was pinned and repinned thousands and thousands of times. So the exposure just from Pinterest alone was huge. When I put this photograph on Instagram, I had probably 3 or 4 like wildlife or world accounts that would message me and ask me if they could also share my image on their accounts. Some of these accounts had 700,000 to 2 million followers alone. So when they put this photograph on my Instagram account, I was getting like 60,000 likes on that particular image. And I don't know if you've ever used Instagram, but every time someone likes an image, it sort of comes up in the explore feed. And then within Instagram itself, this image had a bit of virality. On Instagram, I even had an account called Wondrously Polished, which is a lady who creates this beautiful nail art. And she messaged me, she has quite a significant following, a few 100,000 I think. She messaged me asking me if she could paint my elephant photograph onto her nails and then take that and credit me in that particular photograph. So the lesson to be learnt here is don't be afraid to share your images online knowing that you're going to get exposure for that image, okay? A lot of people I know are like, no, don't put that online without slapping a massive watermark and a massive copyright all over it. If somebody wants to steal your image, they're going to work out a way to steal your image. And I'm sure there are people that have stolen this photograph and are using it and making money off it without me knowing about it. But at the same time, the price I'm paying for that is worth the fact that National Geographic found it and I now have it on the cover of Nat Geo Traveller. So how did this actually happen? How did Nat Geo Traveller find this photograph for the cover of their magazine? Well, it turned out that Nat Geo Traveller in Holland were doing an article on Melbourne, Australia, and they needed images of Melbourne, Australia. Like I said to you before, when I was starting photography, I would go out and take photographs of my own city, Melbourne, all the time. I would write blogs once a week about where I've been in Melbourne and showcase my photographs. And because I've been doing that for such a long time, those images of Melbourne were found very easily with Google image search. Sorry about that, my battery just died. So what I was saying was when Nat Geo were looking for photographs of Melbourne, they found all of my Melbourne photographs, they Googled my name, found the elephant photograph, found my portfolio website, and then it went from there. When they emailed me to ask me about using the elephant photograph on the cover of the magazine, I obviously said yes. I also replied with a link to my best travel photographs from around the world. And I said to them, look guys, there's some other work here that I've done. You're welcome to showcase these as well. Their reply was, thank you, this is great. We'd love to do a little segment on you considering you're the cover photographer for this particular issue. So that's how it all unraveled. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for the next video.